Here's the condenser. There's two brackets here on both sides that get put on with these, I think they're 832 screws and nuts with the lock washers on them. So I guess a little bit of the problem with these holes for the bracket need to line up with the holes in the radiator support. And a little bit of a problem with that is the condenser goes in, the radiator goes in, and some brackets go in that hold the electric fan. So all of those things need to be bolted. Plus there's a bracket on this side, this bracket, that holds the dryer. And that will actually bolt off of these ones. So that's a lot of stuff to line up with the bolts. So there are weld nuts on the support right here. On this side anyway. On this side for some reason they were busted off of mine, so I'm just using nuts. But what I did was I put the condenser in place. I'll show you that. And then I just for these the upper valance here, the hood hinge valance catch, there's these holes here for that. So I'll put the condenser in place with a couple bolts, and then I'll take zip ties and zip tie through these holes and through the holes in the condenser to hold it up in the air in place while I bolt the other stuff on. That's the only solution I came up with. So I'll show you that after I have that done. Okay, here's what I was talking about. The condenser is in place. I showed you the brackets earlier. I put a bolt on each side to hold it into place. Like I said, those bolts have to come out so that I can put the radiator in and the brackets for that hold the electric fan in place. So I put these zip ties in. So when I take the bolts out, this thing will hang on the zip ties, but it'll be in place where I want it. So that's my plan for that. Okay, I had tried to put these brackets on without the fan attached. I put the brackets on and then I tried to put the bolts in the fan, but it was too hard to line them up. These bolts are carriage bolts, and if you see here, they just have the head with the square carriage bolt on the inside there that fits into that slot. So they just push back. There was nothing holding them in place. So I had to bolt them onto the fan first, which I didn't want to do. So now that presents the same problem with the radiator as far as no bolts, what holds it in place. So I zip tied it off of the top holes. So I'm hoping that I can just put the fan and the brackets on now, get the bottom bolts started, cut the zip ties for the top, put the top ones in. And it's too much stuff to hold in place at one time. I'll see how this works. Okay, I was trying to put the fan in there and hold it in place and get the bolts in, and it was giving me a lot of trouble. So what I did was I had stuck a screwdriver through this hole down here, so it came out on the inside there, and I did the same on the other side. Then I was able to take the fan, slide it over the screwdrivers, hold it into place, and then get the middle bolts started on here and on the other side to hold it into place. So that's how I held it into place while I bolted it up. Okay, radiator's bolted in, fans on, and the condenser's all bolted up. So what I did was I had put all these bolts in to hold the radiator in place. Then I took the bottom ones out to put this bracket on. This is for the dryer. The other thing you need to do is you need to lay out and drill a hole in your radiator support, which I have laid out right here. I laid it out on the other side as well. So they have it from this center bolt, 2 7/8 from the center to the center of the new hole, and 1 inch up. So I just put a small level on the center of the bolt, came over, put a mark, measured up an inch right to here, and then I measured over 2 7/8 from the center of this, put a mark here, and just transferred that up to the top. So my hole's going to be right there. I was afraid maybe that on the 2-ton truck the radiator mount's a little bit different. I was afraid this spring was going to get into the way, but it looks like it'll be good. Once I put the dryer on, I'll drill the hole, put the dryer on, and show you all of that. So that's that. Okay, I drilled the hole, which I showed it was laid out. This grommet comes with it, and here are the hard lines that go from the condenser, and this one goes to the condenser here on this side, down here, and then the dryer on the other side. So there's the dryer mounted. Showed you the bracket earlier. A couple straps that go around it here, and there's just a couple sheet metal screws back there. I don't know if I can show it. Yeah, back here there's the screws. There's 2 of them that hold that onto the bracket. So now I'm going to put the O-rings onto the lines, and you want to oil them. They give you some oil. So you got the O-rings right there. Little tube oil they give you. Oil them up. Put some the oil on there, and then tighten them up. So I'm going to hook those up next. Alright, here's another problem I have. This is my front valance. The hood latch goes right here, and I've already cut this. I wanted to show you this before, but I didn't think about it. This thing was on here like that. It stuck out about 3/4 of an inch, kind of went up, over, and back. I bent this tab down. I've cut this, and it's still not enough. What's happening is this thing that goes on like that valance, and I don't think I can show you underneath, but right now I cut that nub off the back. It's up against it still. Before it held it out. It held this thing out like 3/4 of an inch. I couldn't even get the holes to line up, so it was out this way. So now it's back far enough, but it's still rubbing. So if this doesn't work, I'm gonna have to take this all apart, rework the vintage air brackets, maybe flatten them out a little bit and try to move this thing back, maybe utilize a couple holes further in to get it to move back. I don't know what that'll do to these lines, so I'm trying to avoid that. One other thing that's going to have to happen is this line is hitting this part of the front grill assembly, so I'm going to have to notch this right there to miss that. And it also looks like this air vent right here, I'm going to have to cut this back as well, just precaution so it doesn't rub on here. And remember, this is a 2-ton truck, it's not a pickup, so on a pickup you won't have these problems. So I'm going to try to rework that, and I'll show you what I did.